There was I saw a van with Christmas lights scotch taped to the top of it.
I missed that.
Yeah, it was a lot. We were all looking out different windows and we're all seeing different things.
I think that's the reality of the situation, because I was focused on just trying not to get us killed because... Hey everybody, welcome to A Grade, the podcast where a college professor and a middle school teacher taste, review, and grade America's best coffee roasters, craft breweries, and more. We have new episodes every Monday morning at 7 a.m., and you can check out our bonus content over on patreon.com/agradepodcast for behind-the-scenes pictures, videos, and a full report card of every place we've ever visited and graded. So if you want to become an A-grader yourself, get that awesome behind-the-scenes content, just hop on over to patreon.com/agradepodcast. There should be a link that you can just click on in the episode description as well. My name, of course, as always, is Joe, and I am joined, as always, also by...
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie.
And actually, now that we mention it, we are also joined this week by, of course...
Tommy
Boy, who, if you are a longtime listener, you probably remember from last year's A Grady Awards, which, of course, are our annual end-of-the-year celebration award show. And Tommy was the arbiter of tiebreak, I guess, for deciding the awards. So don't know how we're going to do it this year, but I think he did an A-grade job, so he'll probably be back.
I do think Tommy will be back for the A-gradies again as well.
How do you feel about that, Tom?
I think we had a good system last year, but we'll see if we can touch it up this year.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, like most of the rest of this. Anyways, Tommy's here with us this week because the place that we are reviewing today, which of course is
Bridge and Tunnel Brewery in Queens, New York. It's actually in Ridgewood.
So, it's not in Brooklyn?
No, we ventured into New York City and we went to Ridgewood, which was quite an adventure.
Which we will talk about. And so Tommy was there on the adventure. So I guess we'll start by talking about that. So if you're a first-time listener, welcome. Basically, just very briefly, we, like I said, review coffee roasters and craft breweries typically, and we have a grading rubric system, which of course breaks down in what way, Jackie?
Our first category that we grade is atmosphere and ambiance. Then we grade service, beer, food, and then after that, we each come up with our total grade individually for the coffee roaster or craft beer brewery that we're reviewing. And then we debate or agree on an overall podcast grade that, of course, goes on our report card, which is on Patreon. If you were interested, they are all there.
Oh, way to plug it.
I'm trying.
Gotta plug that Patreon. Anyways, yeah, so Tommy joined us this week on our adventure to this brewery because I think we probably released the episode last week of our kind of sit-down interview with Johnny, who is a craft brewing expert. And we were dropping him off at the airport, so we all went together. And I'm glad Tommy was there because it was quite the adventure. And normally we just continue by going into the first grading category, which is atmosphere and ambiance. But I feel as if we have to recap the journey to get there because... man, that was quite the adventure. And there were times where I wasn't sure we were going to pull it out, like that we were going to make it. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was pretty funny because by the time we did get to the brewery, all of us were about on an anxiety level of 9 or 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't from the area, New York City is quite the, I don't know the right word, beast animal. And it definitely proved that yesterday on our adventure, so much so that we didn't get to podcast last night because we basically got home and I just started drinking whiskey and binge watching Stranger Things because I was so stressed out from the whole trip. I think it was the Belmont Stakes or something, some event like that. So basically the traffic going in was apocalyptic.
Yes.
And if you know anything about me, you know that the two things that I hate most in life are being stuck in traffic and having to go to the bathroom. And
when you're stuck in traffic.
Well, when you combine the two, as we said, that's my personal hell.
Personal hell, yeah.
Personal hell. And so I was driving, and basically that's what ended up happening. There was way more traffic than we thought. Parking lot traffic, bumper to bumper, as my father might put it.
Fire and brimstone. There's literally a car on fire on the side of the
There
road.
was a car on fire. So let's just recap everything that we saw. So driving in, there was a car just on fire on the side of the road. There was this bumper to bumper traffic. Eventually, I was like, I need to use the bathroom. We got to find a panic bathroom. Jackie was
This is like a preview of the bathroom corner on the drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Queens's bathroom corner review is not great because we eventually found a Burger King and we tried to go in there and the doors weren't locked so much as there were no handles or locks on the doors to their bathroom, but they were locked. So we didn't even try to get in because there was no way to get in that we could foresee. Right? That was...
Yeah, Joe's aggravation was fuming at this point.
Yeah, fuming is a good way to put it. There were muddy New York City puddles everywhere. If you've been to New York City, you probably definitely know what I'm talking about. It's a different quality and caliber of dirty puddle.
Yes.
I feel like a New York City puddle. So I peeled out of the parking lot. We eventually found a McDonald's. We panic bought a small fry
to gain access to the bathroom.
Yes, which was a key code bathroom.
And they were very deliberate not to let us see them put in the key code. So Tommy held the door while we all cycled through to use
one by one. Yes.
And the fries, the McDonald's fries, I will say, were very plain. But as we got to the bottom, they got saltier. And I realized McDonald's fries don't... Johnny actually pointed this out, that McDonald's fries don't actually taste like anything. They taste like salt if they're salted.
So the question is, what would you grade the McDonald's fries?
The McDonald's fries, I would probably give them a D for Mickey D's. I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
I feel like they wouldn't really be that upset with that. That's fair.
I feel as if whoever is running the show at corporate knows that's
Ronald
the reality.
McDonald.
Yeah,
Ronald McDonald is over there creating D-level fries, I think.
Ronnie is well aware of the caliber of his fries. They weren't bad. They just weren't anything. They tasted like salt vessels, I think was how Johnny put it. So, yeah, we left there. What else did we see? There was some crazy guy that
I was going to say, I don't even know if we should explain this one on the pod, but there was actually, when we were leaving the McDonald's parking lot, terrifyingly, a person who clearly had something going on that was using his fingers to motion gun movements to passing cars. So we were
And
ready.
wasn't he just wandering down this? I didn't see him because I was focused on driving, but he was wandering
Thankfully.
down the middle of the street, you said?
Yeah, he was. It looked like he was having like an episode or something.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was actually really sad and unfortunate, but terrifying.
Yeah. And then there was just a lot of other weird stuff.
I saw a guy on a full suit riding a scooter on the highway.
Yes, you did.
I saw people selling flowers on the highway.
Well, it wasn't that there were people selling flowers on the highway so much as that there was dozens of people selling
Yes.
flowers
walking through the intersections.
Yeah, just selling
on an
flowers.
off-ramp. There was I saw a van with Christmas lights scotch taped to the top of it.
I missed that.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
lot. We were all looking out different windows and we're all seeing different things.
I think that's the reality of the situation because I was focused on just trying not to get us killed because there were also, when I say multiple points, I mean several times, at least 4 or 5 different occurrences where people behind us just went out of our lane, and I'm talking like 2-lane traffic, one lane going one way and then the other lane coming the other way towards you, and people just going out of our lane and just up the road into oncoming traffic. And there was one point where 2 cars in a row did that, gunned it through an intersection, and people were just honking as they swerved to try to not get hit. And we've seen people do wacky things driving cross country last summer, but that was wild. People were just going all out nutso, I felt like yesterday.
It kind of solidified my thought that if we are going to do any more coffee roasters or breweries in New York City, we should definitely take the train and the subway.
Well, I think there were a couple of factors at work as well. I mean, first of all, it is weekend. It's nicer summer weather, I guess. So more people are kind of out losing their minds in general, I feel like. And then we kind of figured out, I think Tommy looked up, it's Puerto Rican Day
Parade
weekend.
on June 12th, I think. Today, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was the weekend.
Yeah, so it was definitely more crowded. There was a lot of events going on in New York City.
Yeah, Belmont, like we said.
The parade. Yeah. So there was a lot of events going on where there was probably more people in the city and commuting into the city and out of the city than normal.
Yeah, and again, I feel as if we didn't mention half the things that we actually saw, but that's some of what we experienced. And again, it's not a long drive. It was still only maybe an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, but it's crazy how much madness you run into just getting into the city sometimes.
Yeah, they say the Wild West is dead, but it just changed settings to a concrete one.
Now this is why
I don't
want to
rip on people who live in the city, but it's I tip my hat off to them. It's impressive. I couldn't do it.
Well, I think the Wild West, it went so far west that it hit the coast and then it ran out of room, so it looped back around maybe.
It just bounced back.
Yeah, it just kind of did a reversal or something. So, yeah, I think maybe we've talked about this, funnily enough, how maybe we have to time it more. But Johnny was thinking, oh, but we're going to the airport anyways. We might as well drive into the city. And I suggested, well, there's some great breweries, out by where we live. Maybe we could do those. And he said, no, this one's really good. And so I said yes. And then he said, all right, yeah, and we're not doing that next time. But having said all of that, I was really glad that we chose this brewery. So I guess we can continue with the actual atmosphere and ambiance of the brewery, which I will start with by saying that as an addendum, when I got out of the car, we parked about, I don't know, maybe 50 yards from the brewery. Yeah. We were really close on the street parking. It's just on a side street in this neighborhood. Really innocuous. I think Johnny said it's in an old firehouse, one of those tiny New York City firehouses. And as I stepped out, Jackie was in the backseat behind me where I was obviously driving. And I noticed as she opened her door, I started laughing because I said, Jackie, be careful when you step out because there's a cheeseburger right on the ground where you will step out. And when I say cheeseburger, I don't mean a full cheeseburger. It was just a meat patty with cheese in a half wrapper or something, just right where you would step out again. And we just kind of laughed because that was the perfect ending to that insane drive. Oh yeah, watch out for cheeseburger landmines as you step out of the car.
After that crazy drive, I was definitely on edge by the time that we got to the brewery. So when we walked inside, I kind of took a deep breath. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
Yeah, it was like an oasis.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't you tell us about walking in and how that ties into your impressions of the atmosphere and ambiance?
So like you said before, it seemed like that it was in an old firehouse. So when you walk in, the whole front is open. They have one of those like garage doors that was left open because it was a pretty nice day weather-wise. So everything was open. There was lots of fresh air blowing through. And immediately when you walk in, there is so much to look at. I felt like there was really cool stuff everywhere. It almost had a little bit of like a put together grungy look, which was interesting because when we did talk to the owner, he did say that everything in there he had made. It was all of his equipment was homemade. He put it together. It looked like all of their decorations. There was some graffiti on the wall. Nothing was, sometimes you go into breweries and they're sleek and super clean and simple and sleek. This was kind of way more homey and grungy but in a way that made it super comfortable. There was like piecemeal things put together. It looked like couches and tables and different things from maybe he got at garage sales or from different houses. There wasn't really any color scheme or something like that you would see. This was way more natural.
Yeah, it very much was sort of the opposite of some of these bigger corporate-ier breweries we've went to. A few that come to mind are something like Victory Brewing in Philadelphia, or even Other Half, the one that we went to in New York City. Again, really cool places, but you get such a contrast looking at those compared to something like this, which, yeah, exactly that. Looks as if they brought in stuff from their own home, maybe stuff that they've found over the years that they thought was really cool. As the owner mentioned, that we'll talk about probably with service, he talked about how a lot of the stuff there is all custom in terms of the brewing equipment and everything. So yeah, I definitely got that impression too, where it was super homey almost, but in a very quirky, creative way.
Yeah, there was classic rock music playing in the background, which totally fit. It was a little bit dark in there, which totally fit.
Yeah, it felt very Queens, Brooklyn vibe. I lived in Queens. You did too, lived in Queens or Queens, Brooklyn, whatever, New York City area for some time. And it screamed of that to me. It was so familiar to me having lived in the city.
Yeah, there were other little touches. And then I'll let you, Tommy, your thoughts too. But there were other little touches, like there was a fake signed picture of Babe Ruth that literally tricked me into thinking that it was Babe Ruth that signed it. It said to our favorite brewer, to my favorite brewery, and it said "Love Babe," and it was really funny. There was a lot of really funny touches.
It was a hunter with Babe Ruth's face photoshopped. And he was hunting an alligator. And Jackie said, "Is that real?" And I said, "Yeah, Babe Ruth loved hunting alligators and drinking at Bridge and Tunnel Brewery back in the 1920s.
Yeah, there was
obviously
there was cool art everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere you looked, there was cool stuff.
The chessboard table was really cool by the fake fireplace. That's sort of where we wound up sitting. All the chairs were different. One of them that I was sitting in had kind of lion throne armrest handles. All the other chairs were very unique and distinct.
Stickers
and
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think, Tom?
Yeah, it was a sweet little gem. It sounds like because it was a small operation between the husband and wife as co-owners, I'm assuming. Everything they had there seemed very deliberate in their rollout. So all the furniture, as you said, it looked like it was a mix and match, which fit really well. They had like a nice little fake fireplace you could sit around. They had long tables. They had an arcade machine, which Joe did check out.
I Pac-Man'd.
The bar was pretty big too for the size, like the table itself around. And then the board with all the taps too. It seemed pretty straightforward. And they also had all their mugs out too. It sounded like they had a mug of the month club or something, mug club. So I wish I could have been able to join that, but it still looked really cool, especially if you're like a local person. And it seems like a great spot if you're like a member of the community there. Like I would definitely be a local that would go there all the time if I lived over there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt as if they fit a lot in a very small area. We talk about this a lot with different breweries or coffee roasters we've been to, how some of them seemingly are really good at optimizing the space they have. And then other places we go to that are maybe the same size as a place like Bridge and Tunnel, and it seems like there's no seating. It's just the space isn't being set up well. So I thought that was really cool. And I was actually surprised because it was Saturday that it wasn't more crowded. I mean, people were in and out for sure. But I think you guys put it perfectly. This idea of it is it's sort of a hidden gem almost, because it's such a not huge, gaudy operation like some of these other more popular breweries out there in terms of their name recognition that you just hear about. I hadn't really heard. I had heard about it, but only through Johnny, who is a beer insider, I would call him. So yeah, I think all of that definitely kind of sums up what my experience was too, right?
Yeah, and I do think we're going to get into this later, but the service definitely impacts your atmosphere and ambiance. I felt very comfortable when we were in there. The owner talked to us for a while. Again, not knowing that we're doing a podcast or anything like that, just seemed like he is someone who greets his customers, and that we'll talk about that later, but that does impact my atmosphere and ambiance grade as well because of how comfortable I felt.
And speaking of comfortable, if we have nothing else to say about atmosphere and ambiance, then cue the toilets. You have to give a few seconds for the toilets to flush. Yeah.
Squeaky gaskets, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta exercise those gaskets. So this week's rendition of Bathroom Corner, I guess I can take it away. All right, so very briefly, I guess, because there wasn't a ton about the bathroom that I think needs to be explained, because I think it sort of followed the theme of the brewery itself. It was kind of a bit of a quirky, eclectic bathroom. It was surprisingly big. I mean, I kind of almost rather have two bathrooms with the size that one bathroom is, because there was only one bathroom. But it is such a small operation, it makes sense that they just had the one, I think, overall. And overall, it was very clean. I think that was very interesting, as we were saying, how the brewery itself is very chaotic almost in its kind of decor. And at the same time, though, it felt very clean, very safe, like you've been saying. And I felt the bathroom was sort of the same way. It was kind of just red painted walls, I think.
Blood red.
Oh, was it?
It was very red, wasn't it?
I mean, that's a way to put it.
Yeah, it was a blood red wall. Maybe I've been watching too much Stranger Things, but yeah.
That could have something to do with it. But I really liked the door. That was the thing I noticed the most about the bathroom, because the door had a million bumper stickers on it. And that was really cool. I always like something like that. And again, it just fit into the vibe. The door was really heavy. It was one of those heavy metal doors that gives you that grungy kind of Brooklyn, Queens vibe, whatever. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good bathroom. I would say if I had to grade it, I'd probably give it a B. I think it had some character. It was clean. It fit into the theme overall. So I was very pleasantly, not surprised, but just pleased with the bathroom experience overall. What did you guys think?
I like the bathroom. As you said with the stickers, that was really cool. I'm hoping as they continue operating, because they've been open 7 years? 8 years?
I think
2015 they said they opened.
Yeah, I think maybe they've been brewing longer, but they opened.
I'm hoping to see them continue that trend with the stickers and just cover the whole bathroom.
That would be sick, right? All the walls.
I've seen some of those sometimes, and
That'd be
really cool. Especially when you're just, doing your business and you just get to stare at all the new stickers and everything. It's cool.
That's what we always say on the podcast, that bathrooms are such an opportunity to showcase something interesting or unique, and some places they really play that up, which is cool.
There was something in this bathroom that I think you guys might not normally care about, but they did have a full-length mirror, which to me I really like in a bathroom, so that when I'm done washing my hands and getting ready to leave the bathroom, I have that nice full length mirror to kind of to like assess everything and myself and be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I don't have any issues here. But I did take some videos of this bathroom as well. If you are a Patreon, they are in the Patreon Google Drive. So I took a video, I showed them to Tommy, I think. After having a couple beers, I took some fun videos utilizing the mirrors.
Yep. Sounds about right. And you can find those over on patreon.com/A-Grade podcast.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Anything else? Or are you ready for grades for atmosphere and ambiance?
I'm ready.
Did I start? You started. So you go first.
Sure. I gave the atmosphere and ambiance a B+. I really liked it. I thought it was a really comfortable, cozy place to stay. The dim lighting, kind of grungier feeling brewery is not necessarily where I normally would vibe and where, a place that I normally would enjoy. I normally like the big windows, lots of light, sitting outside, big open spaces, kind of farm grass breweries more than inner city breweries. But even despite the fact that this is not necessarily my preference of aesthetics, I still found myself really comfortable, really digging everything to look at. So I gave it a really nice B+.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I think you're right. In general, we tend to gravitate more towards the types of breweries that you were explaining. But I really loved what they did with this version of a deep city brewery. It almost feels like as if you're really deep in the city or the city vibe or whatever. So trying to think about how to balance all of that, I'm going to go for atmosphere and ambiance because I think I was so comfortable there for other reasons. I'm going to go A- for atmosphere and ambiance because we often say this as well, how one grading rubric category can tend to bleed into the others, especially when you have blood red bathroom walls. So it all sort of ties together. But I think, again, overall, it was really comfortable for other reasons too, in addition to everything we said. So what do you think, Tom?
I loved being able to see some of the operation from the front. You could see the whole open up in the back where they actually make the booze. And I also noticed on the board there was events they had, like a stand-up event and a bunch of other community events. I really liked it. For the place it's at, you're not going to really have an open farm brewery area. So, I mean, for the space they had, I think they did an excellent job. I would give them an A-.
Yeah, and the other thing that actually, now that you're mentioning it, maybe I would have liked a little bit more of, because Bridge and Tunnel, I don't know why it's Bridge and Tunnel. I don't know if he explained it when we were talking to him, because I was kind of all over the place while we were there, but I would have liked to have maybe seen a bit more about that or that vibe, but everything else I still really liked. So overall, I thought it was great too. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're all in a similar range there. That's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next category is what? Beer?
Service.
How do I not know that?
I don't know. We've done how many episodes? We're almost hitting 50 and you're still, I mean, at least you got the name of the brewery and the city of the brewery correct this time.
I didn't get either of those correct, I think.
Bridge and Tunnel, you got that right.
I thought they were.
You got the town wrong.
Yeah, I got the town wrong. I got the neighborhood wrong. Yeah. Oh, I definitely didn't get the neighborhood actually. So beer. No, I'm kidding. Service. Did I start? You start.
I started. Tommy, do you have a preference? Do you want to start with service or with the beer category?
Let's just do service.
Yeah, jump right in, Tommy.
It goes right into atmosphere. Rich and Lisa, owners, were fantastic. They were so nice. They were so accommodating. We talked to them for like 45 minutes to an hour. And our brother, as you know, is a brewer. He started talking to Rich, and they got sucked into a conversation for like an hour.
They got sucked into their whole
which is great.
World.
Yeah, they were talking about some really cool stuff, and then Lisa was talking to us too, just about like the beer and like what they've been doing there for all this time. And they were just so accommodating and nice too, and they let us try a bunch of beers too before we chose which ones we wanted to go with. And they were just really nice. I was very impressed with the service. They were nice enough to tell us some like little secrets they had and like tell us about the new operation that they want to get going upstate too. So they were just really nice, and it seems like they had good rapport too with the other people coming in, like other locals especially. I just think they're really nice people, and their service reflects that.
Yeah, I think that is a really good way to put it, because when we first came in, Rich was his name, right?
Rich was kind of just puttering around,
Yeah.
like fixing things up, like said a couple like, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
And then he started putting his labels together, and Johnny noticed it, and so he went over to check it out.
But he does that right. There's kind of this chain, and is it chain link fence?
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
back
Yeah.
where the brewing equipment is behind, and it has all these no trespassing alligator signs, because again, why not? Seems to be the vibe. And he was just at a table right next to us, basically labeling cans, and that's when Johnny was talking to him. But yeah, he came over initially and was just asking how we're doing, whatever. And later on, I really appreciated, because when some seemingly what I thought were regulars came in, I sort of realized, oh, this is really cool. This is an environment where they treat you just the same as their regulars, even if you're new, which, as we unfortunately always say, is not always the case at breweries or coffee roasters. A lot of times you go to some places and you do feel like a burden, or you do feel, because you're not a regular, you're somebody they haven't seen before, they're not going to kind of give you the time of day. Again, there's lots of reasons for why that experience may happen, but it is unfortunately an experience that we have had in the past. So I feel as if when we do find this level of initial original engagement, it's really impressive and it's really nice. It's really what we look for. And it was my same experience as Tommy said, sort of talking to either Rich, who was who's the brewer, I guess, and or Lisa, who was behind the bar. Just really genuine and really friendly, and they just wanted to kind of hang out and talk about great beer. It felt like there was one point where I mentioned how a brewer once told me, well, that he is making a lot of IPAs because he's got to cater to the market and that's what he sells. And Lisa kind of laughed and said, yeah, we're not interested in that, because as we'll talk about with beers, they have a very eclectic beer list. And she said, yeah, we do all sorts of beers. We just do beers that we think we're going to love, that are really interesting. And I thought that was, just really cool as well. But what did you think? Was there anything else with the service that stood out to you, Jackie?
I thought the service was really great. I honestly can't imagine it being any better, which is always a really good feeling. I love hearing people talk about, the brewers and owners tell stories. It's some of our favorite experiences, or some of my favorite experiences in a brewery, is when you hear the backstory. We got to hear about the backstory behind different names of beer and how the names were come up with. We got to hear some of his story about his past and the way he's kind of started the brewery. And then we also got to hear about his future plans. When you get those stories, you feel so embedded in the community and you feel a part of the brewery, that I think that they're creating something really, really special here by the fact that the owner is there, he's visible, he's talking to people that have come from far away. I mean, we've had experiences where we've driven 2 hours to places and we literally can't use a bathroom, so we turn around and leave. This cannot be any different from that, where you walk in, you feel welcome, you immediately start feeling part of the community. It's really special, and we don't see it often, but it is out there. And this was another one of those amazing experiences. I very confidently would give this service experience an A. There's no question in my mind.
All right, fair enough. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, they just seem to be like genuinely nice people, and we're very accommodating. It's an A all the way.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go A.
I was going to say, are you even going to joke? Can you even get out giving this anything less than an A? There's no way. This was like as clear an A as possible.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I have to do fireworks.
Yes, you do.
All right, cue them. They're happening. I have a sound clip. They're gonna get edited in, but yeah, I think that's, especially when we all agree on a letter grade, that's usually a really good sign for a specific category. So yeah, I think that's fair. Which leads us, of course, to the all-important beer category.
Yeah, and I think it is your turn to start off first. Tell us about the beer experience.
Yeah, so they definitely had a very, I guess you would call it, eclectic beer list too. The beer list almost kind of reminded me of the brewery itself in terms of atmosphere and ambiance, because it was so unique and diverse, and that showed with their offerings. I mean, they had everything from New England IPAs to sour beers to stouts, Hefeweizen, Pilsner. I mean, there's got to be something there for most people, which is really cool. And that's something that we've kind of noticed, I feel like, in our travels or in our journeys, that there's essentially two types of brewery styles. One where they really lean into a specific variety of beer. So we'll call them something like a IPA brewery, or a brewery that really focuses or features stouts, or a brewery that really focuses or features sours, right? Like Hudson Valley, sours, you think sours. Great Notion, you think stouts maybe. IPAs, you think other half or Tilted Barn, right? And that's fine because they crush those styles. But then there are other breweries that are just making all sorts of really great beer and very diverse types. So whichever direction they sort of go in, it's most important that they just do a really good job with those styles, I feel like. And here it was more of the very diverse, we're just going to focus on types of beers that we really love. And so luckily they offered flights, which is great because you can sample a bunch of different types of beers. They were also willing to offer us samples, which was really cool too. And so I think I tried pretty much most of the beers on the list. My favorites were probably the Hefeweizen. I love a good Hefeweizen. The the oatmeal stout, I think I really liked. They had an oatmeal stout that was awesome. And there was one other.
You liked the mango
IPA. The mango IPA was amazing too. So there were definitely probably 3 or 4 beers out of the maybe 14, 15 that I tried that I thought were amazing. And then a lot of the others I liked. They didn't blow me away as much, like the Pilsner, some of the regular New England IPAs. They were still really good, but those were my impressions overall of which ones stood out to me. But what did you think? Were there any real standouts for you?
There were a couple that I really liked. I liked the mango IPA. I liked the oatmeal stout. I really liked the coconut IPA.
That was unique.
So unique, and I really like coconut, so that was good. What I noticed about the flavors in their beer, when it was a mango IPA, I felt like I was getting real fruit flavor, real mango flavor. It didn't feel chemically, it didn't feel fake, it didn't feel artificial. It was one of the smoothest flavored beers where I actually felt like I was drinking real mangoes, which I always appreciate. And I think that might come from the fact that they make all their own equipment there. And I'm sure that this brewer has perfected some of his recipes and equipment to create such a clean drinking experience. I really did enjoy all the beers. They were pretty high alcohol content, even the Pilsner.
Wasn't the Pilsner
like 8%?
6%.
No, 6%.
6%.
But that's still, I feel, high for a Pilsner.
Yeah, so by the time I finished a couple of flights, I was feeling really good. So I'm glad that I was not driving.
Well, you gotta finish flights to fly. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But I really liked my beer experience. I thought a lot of the beers were really good.
What did you think, Tommy?
The beers were really good, and as you said, the variety was excellent. I really liked all the different styles they had available at the same time. The mango I had, which was really good, it tasted like real mango. It was unique. As you said, it didn't just taste like they just put like a fake flavoring in it.
Yeah, you get that a lot too.
Oh, I hate when that happens. And that happens more often than not, I think.
And the stout one I had too, I think it was like number 1 on the board. I forgot the name of it though.
I think it was the oatmeal stout.
It was the oatmeal stout.
Yeah.
It was really good. It reminded me when I was in Ireland of like the Guinness taste, like how it's just, they always say it tastes better there than it does here, and it's true. But it gave me that similar feeling, that similar taste. It just was like, it was like refreshing almost. It's like I could drink this in the summer when usually oatmeal stouts aren't. And we actually talked to him about that too. It's one of the reasons why he said, yeah, I just brew what I want when I like what I want to think is good beer any time of the year. And as he should, because it was really good. And also I had a grade in mind, but then I was thinking about it. And what lifts it to another level is he was telling us about how his future plans of his future brews and how he continues to keep improving upon what he thinks is already a good brew. And he's already got like the next 6 months planned out of new lineups for the next couple seasons. And I think because of that, it's going to even raise my grade higher personally. It was really good beer. If you're in the area, check it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're right. It is funny how he sort of said, yeah, why not have a stout in the summer if it's good? And I couldn't agree more, because that was maybe my favorite beer there, either the mango IPA or the stout. And if it's good enough, I don't care what time of year it is sometimes. Maybe you don't want to go to a brewery that's only featuring stouts in the hottest day of summer. I don't know. But here it was very refreshing.
I don't want a bad stout in the summer. I'll drink his
Maybe
stout.
that's it,
I'll
yeah.
drink
Yes.
Maybe that's
Bridge and
it. Yes.
Tunnel stouts in the summer 100%.
Yeah.
Good point.
And the other thing, the one other thing I noticed is that the aromas of the beers were really nice too. They were just very pleasant to kind of sit with and enjoy the aromas of. They were very, they had very nice scents to them as well, I would say overall. But I don't know, is there anything else?
No, I thought he had a really impressive lineup. I loved it.
Yeah. So letter grades. What are we thinking?
You go first. You started it off.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go B+ overall. I really enjoyed them. I think in general, there wasn't any that I really didn't like. There were just some that I really loved, and I think overall they're just really good beers, and some of them are great beers. So I think, if anything, you certainly won't be disappointed by your experience here. Like, you will find something that's for you, certainly, because there's so many options.
I'm going to go B+ as well. And I was actually, it's funny because I was thinking about going a little bit higher. And what made me go, I was between a B+ and an A-. And the reason I went with the B+ is because, just a side note preference thing for me, is that I really like the presentation of a beer. I'm kind of a sucker for that. And I kind of wish I could have drank the beer in glass instead of in a paper cup.
I forgot to mention
And
that was in my mind too.
Like, I am 100% sure, like you said earlier, Tommy, that it's a deliberate choice that they're using plastic cups. I'm sure that there's a reason they're doing that. We might have even talked a little bit about it with Lisa, but I feel like I would have probably gone with the A- if I had it in a glass. And I mean, maybe people will disagree with me that I shouldn't be using that as a criteria, but I think that the beers would have tasted even better if they were in glassware instead of plastic.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that, but I think you're spot on, because I was trying to think why I wasn't going A- range instead. And that was something that I remember thinking about that while I was there, that, man, I would have loved these in really nice presented glasses or something. Again, there's
Because they were, I think they were
reasons,
beautiful beers.
Yeah, there's reasons why they're not.
You got to join the mug club.
Yes.
Well,
If I was in the mug club, I could have been able to drink it in glass.
Anyways, what do you think for letter grade, Tom?
So all the reasons I said, because it's a small operation, it seems like Rich really pours his soul into it, and he really cares about it. And it's such a variety. You can find anything, any style that you prefer, you'll find it there. I'm giving it an A.
Wow, Tommy going in with the A's.
Absolutely. I was
I'm glad
very
you
impressed.
A for absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
well, definitely.
Well, you know what? I'm really glad you did, because we do talk about sometimes the grades itself are not as important as the explanation behind the grade, where, like, if you're a listener and you're like, wow, that's really dumb, like, I don't care about
Right,
if
yeah.
it's in plastic or glass, that doesn't matter to me. A good beer is a good beer. Then you would probably give these beers an
But
A.
I know people
but
who won't
some
drink
people-
beer out of a plastic
yeah.
cup.
So it's just something to
For
think
whatever
about
reason.
and to note. So I'm kind of glad we're getting both ranges represented here. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you gave it an A, Tommy.
But that's still upper range. That's still,
oh yeah, I mean we're
still
going
great
between
grades.
way above average. either way.
Anyways, that leads us to food category, which I don't. Should I just? do you wanna-
I would. They don't have food. They had like chip bags, and I'm not going to grade that. I'll give it an X.
Okay,
I'll X
so
that
we
out.
talk about
Personally.
this with food. If there's not food, you can X out the category, or you can still give it a grade, because we do grade based upon food as well for our brewery experience. There are situations where I X it out because I say, well, I am going to consider it as part of my overall grade, but it doesn't really make sense in my estimation to give a letter grade when they don't provide something. But there are other places who are. So it's totally your option, but
I'm going to say I wouldn't grade food because it's in the city and there's so many food options right next door. Literally, a local came in and left to go to the bakery with their kid and came back to get more beer because it was around the corner. So I think there's plethora of food options that, for me personally, I wouldn't grade them on food because they didn't have any.
yeah. Okay. I think I am going to give a food grade this time around, just because it is something that I would have liked to have had. And they did have, I think, just pretzels and bags of chips. Yeah, there definitely is stuff around, but I'm sure if I asked, they would have recommendations. I get the feeling that they would be okay with us bringing in food. I almost feel as if the food was overshadowed by all of these other things that we really loved. So sometimes we go to a place and we say, yeah, we need food. What's the food option? And we certainly left and said that, had to figure out food because we were really hungry. But again, when I go to some other places, there is food and sometimes food that pairs really well with the beer that's offered. Sometimes that is even more important if they are leaning into a certain style. So I think overall, the food, I sort of wish I looked into it more or asked more about it. I think somebody mentioned, maybe I was talking to Johnny about this, how they used to have pretzels. They knew a guy who made pretzels or a baker or something, and he would bring in pretzels basically for them to warm up to serve. I don't think that's an option anymore. But again, you could probably bring things in, but because that was the situation as far as I understand it, I think I'm just going to give maybe a C- for food because, again, there was an awareness, right? Like that they do offer chips and those sorts of things. I don't think I'm going to weigh it heavily into my overall letter grade, so that's something to note as well. It's not as if a C- in this category is going to greatly bring down my overall letter grade, but it's just the reality of the food situation. And that's compared to a lot of the other places we've been to that have like crazy food options. I mean, you think of, for example, where was it? Human Robot in Philadelphia. They have this partnership with Poe's Sandwich Shop, which is kind of attached to them. And it's such an awesome pairing. And it's such an awesome collaboration that they do with this local sandwich shop. And it's like, okay, that's A-grade food options. They've figured it out and done that. Again, not something that everybody cares about. Not something that's necessarily important, like Jackie was mentioning. But some people, yeah, they love a great food experience with their beer experience. So with that context in mind, that's sort of what makes sense to me overall. But what do you think, Jackie?
It's funny because before you even said that or any of that, I wrote down C- for mine as well. Again, it's not going to factor, just like you said, too much into my overall grade for the brewery, but we have been to some places that have really banging foods that you can eat at the brewery, sometimes the best foods. And it's not, we don't really know the neighborhood, so I'm sure we would have got really good recommendations, but I think C- for me for food is accurate, and it'll just be a small little factoring into my overall grade.
Yeah, again, it's coming from the standpoint of other places we visited and, with the caveat that, well, there's different preferences that you might have or things that you want or look for, but just something that is the reality of the situation when you go there for sure.
Absolutely.
But what does that leave us with for overall grades?
So overall, for atmosphere and ambiance, Joe gave an A-, I gave a B+, Tommy gave an A-. For service, we have A's across the board. For beer, Joe B+, me B+, Tommy A. For food, Joe and I C-, and Tommy X'd it out.
Okay, I think I know my overall letter grade.
I'm kind of stuck. I'm between two. I always am.
I think I know my overall letter grade. Yeah, I'm ready.
You ready for the 3, 2, 1?
Sure.
You know yours?
Yeah.
I feel like I know all our letter grades, and you guys suck.
Do you want to make a guess?
Right?
Do you want to guess or no?
No.
Okay.
I think I know them though.
Okay. Tell us after if you're right.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
You
Ready?
ready? 3, 2, 1. A-.
B+.
Oh, okay. I thought Tommy was going to go A. I thought you were going to go, Jackie was going to go B+, and I would go A-.
Oh, so you were almost right. Yeah.
So we got a B+ by Jackie,
Yes.
an A- by Tommy, and an A- by me. Okay, interesting. I feel as if we're all in the same ballpark. We're all pretty much right where it makes sense.
Does anybody feel super strongly about their grade to go for the overall podcast grade?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
I absolutely think so. I think it's an A-grade brewery.
Yeah, I think it's definitely A range. I also think as if from the perspective of when you're thinking about rounding up or rounding down, you kind of have to look to what are standouts in terms of what's done well and what's not done well, right? And I think I'm going to assume from your perspective, Jackie, that A-grade service is something that means a lot to you because you always talk about how atmosphere and ambiance and service are so important. I just think because of the passion behind it and because of how cool that is, and because of so many places that we've been to, I mean, we've been to breweries where we're the only ones in there and the beer tenders or whoever's there is just like, yeah, what do you want? Okay.
Also,
done.
yes.
And it's such a different experience.
In addition to the fact that sometimes in those very same breweries, I have beer that's quote unquote flavored, but it just tastes like chemicals.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to advocate for A-. I think that's a reasonable grade. What do you guys think?
I agree. I wish we could go higher, but A- is where
you could argue for an A.
I did give all my grades an A. So if I could revise it honestly, I would give them an A.
You only did A- for
Yeah.
atmosphere
You
and
can't- you
I
ambiance.
probably should have said A.
Too late now.
Well, I said it.
Well, it's okay. Now we got it on the record that you think A.
So A minus.
I think A- is fair for an overall podcast grade, especially just, this is a really strong grade for a place that doesn't offer food, which normally is
Yeah, it's true.
something that we do
Yeah.
factor in. And I think an A- is really, really high for a brewery. We don't give a lot of
Yeah.
breweries in that A range.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that anybody that's in anywhere near Ridgewood, if you're in New York City, staying there, visiting, whatever, to check out Bridge and Tunnel Brewery. This is like a place that showcases, I think, the best of what New York has to offer and why people love New York City. This is something
Yeah.
really special. We got to hear some really great stories. The owners are incredible. I am so excited to check out the next location that they open.
I know.
I have a feeling I'm
Yeah.
going to like it even better just because I'm not necessarily a city girl.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to like their new location better. I'm excited that they're branching out and getting bigger. There's a lot to look forward to here, and I'd highly recommend coming either by yourself, with friends, with a couple. There were some kids there. You could bring your kids. There was outdoor seating and indoor seating. I thought it was a great experience.
Yeah, really, really cool. Just very unique. I mean, so many places, especially you see with big money, you can tell they have big money backing them for whatever reason. I mean, we've been to places where clearly they've somehow acquired lots of capital to open up a brewery. And this place was kind of much more so. These people love beer.
Homegrown.
Yeah, he's custom designed a lot of his equipment and stuff. Just so original and so unique. And I think from that aspect, if, again, you just want great beer or you want to see a really ground up experience of people who just decided to do this.
Hell yeah.
The atmosphere was great. It really embodied the region. The beer selection was super. A lot of variety. And the owners were some of the nicest owners I've ever met.
Yeah.
That's why I give it an A.
Well, A minus, but yeah. So that's
Check, go back, roll back the tapes.
I will. Hi, I'm Tommy. A minus.
You guys should see the
Don't
death
put words in my
stares. The
Your
death
words, not
stares
mine.
between these brothers.
His words, not mine.
Listen, listen. After our experience to go from the no bathroom, the crazy traffic, the car on fire, the
Everything.
insane
All of it.
experience we had driving in to find, like you said before, Tommy, an oasis to have some beers, calm down.
Yeah.
Our ride home was much better, and we really had a great day.
Yeah, so that's A minus overall by A Grade Podcast, and check it out. Good stuff.
Thank you so much to Bridge and Tunnel. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Bridge and
Yeah,
Tunnel.
thank you, Rich and Lisa. Great
Yes.
place.
Yeah, definitely highly recommend, and hopefully we'll be back, like you said, maybe to the upstate place location that they're opening, but certainly maybe back there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said earlier in the episode, if you are at all inclined, please check out our Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you can help support the podcast.
That's only 75 cents an episode.
Right.
That's pocket
And
change.
It's a
This-
steal.
Yes.
It is a steal.
Absolutely.
You're stealing from us, actually, if you become a Patreon. That's how good of a deal it is.
Yes. The money goes right back into the podcast. We're using it. Mostly we'll use it. Maybe we're going to get some merch coming up soon. We're going to use it if any of our sound equipment breaks, which has happened in the last couple of weeks. Some behind the scenes stuff there.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yes. And we, of course, use any money that we get from Patreon to give right back into these small businesses. Like you said before, there are a lot of breweries out there that have money, that are corporate, that are big, that are bought out by other, big mega corporations. But really, a place like Bridge and Tunnel, we're so excited to showcase and to give them in that A range. We want to give back to these small businesses, to the local communities. There are owners, people passionate that are doing amazing things, that have great stories that we are just so proud to be able to showcase. And anything that we make from Patreon goes right back into those businesses. So thank you to our current Patreons. And if you want to sign up, you can do it for as little as $3 a month, and you will see some very fun behind the scenes photos, videos, report card grades, all that great stuff.
Yep. Check it out.
Check it out.
You heard it here.
You heard it here.
All right. Well, thank you all for,
Thank you, Tommy, for
Joining us,
coming
yeah.
on.
Thank you for having me.
This was so much fun. I love having guests.
our A grade arbiter.
Yeah.
Probably be back for the A gradies. A gradies aren't far away.
They're coming.
No, I don't want to rush it.
End of the
We're
year.
already halfway there.
I know, we're halfway there. I remember the last A Grady's Awards. I said, oh, God, we got to do 50 whatever of these, 52 of these before the next A Grady's, and we're like halfway there now.
It's going to be harder to pick, I think, this year because we have so many great places we've been. How are we going to give a service award? We've had such good service
We're
experiences.
going to fight. That's what
true.
we're going to do.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
He's like, it sounds great.
I got to arborate.
Yes,
Yeah,
of
that's
course.
true.
Right. You need a job. You need to earn your
It's a
your
word,
take.
right?
Yeah.
Arborate.
No, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say anything.
I kind of
Well,
like
it's
it.
a new word.
Let's put it in the dictionary.
Anyways, so hopefully you guys
The
enjoyed.
genius.
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this madness, and hopefully you join us next week. I think maybe we'll be back to Coffee Roaster. I don't know. I think we have an episode or two before we leave for l'Italia.
Wow.
Yeah, si, molto bene.
Yes.
And we'll be doing some episodes from Italy before we come back to the States. But yeah, whether it's Coffee Roaster, Craft Brewery, like I said, hope you join us. Follow us wherever you're listening: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Grindr, Tinder, all the hits, all the apps, all the stuff. And we'll be back next week, as always, Monday morning, 7 a.m. So until next time, stay safe out there, be well, drink well, and hope to see you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, the music's playing. Yeah. Oh, you're dancing. Okay, yeah. You guys are dancing.
Do do do.
Okay, that's
Do do.